Hello everyone, thanks for taking time out of your Saturday morning to join us, and welcome to this educational presentation where I'm going to be talking to you about a tool that signals trend changes in advance. This is a great tool that if you've ever been long in a position or even short and you've wondered, well, I've got a really nice profit, it's time to get out, or maybe you're wondering whether you should get in if it's too late, if the trend has changed already or it's about to change. This is a great tool that can help you make that decision. For example, let's look at this chart here, this recent chart in Viacom. Okay, this is going back to the beginning of the year, and obviously it was in an extremely strong uptrend. Let's say you were lucky enough to be long this stock, maybe in your short-term or even long-term portfolio, but you were thinking possibly it's a little bit overextended. Well, this tool that I'll share with you on exactly how to use it would have actually generated a trend warning change, okay, a trend change warning, I should say, right here. This was just this past week or so, and it would have told you that not to get out because it's not a predictive tool, it's not a strategy, it doesn't tell you to sell or buy, it just gives you warning to help you make your own decision. But at this point right here, it would have given you a nice trend change warning, and as you can see, look what happened this past week. So this is the tool that signals these trend changes in advance to help you make your decision whether you want to stay in a position, whether you want to exit, whether you want to decide to get into a position. Remember, all we are doing is helping you and providing you with different signals, I should say, with different strategies and methods to help you make your own trading decision. Now, it's so simple to do this because everything, as you're going to be seeing today, is on our platform, the PTS Primo Charting Platform. This is the educational platform that actually teaches you how to trade. So welcome once again. My name is Steven Primo. I'm the president and founder of Specialist Trading. And if you're new to my Saturday webinars, well, we're all about educating you. That's our goal as a mentor, simply to educate you and provide you with these tips and techniques, ultimately so that you can make your own trading decision. Now, the reason we do this is because it's been estimated that 80 to 85% of all traders fail. It's because basically you're taking yourself out of the game. Think of how you make your own trading decisions, whether to buy or whether to sell. It's usually based on someone or something else telling you what to do. Either you go to some chat room or listen to some guy on TV or read some daily blog. But either way, all of these things are helping you to influence you on what to buy or what to sell, how long you should be in the market, how long you should be out. And everything is based on you giving your power away to someone or something else. It's my opinion, and trading for over 4 decades now, that that's a recipe for disaster because most of the traders I know that have failed miserably use this type of premise by listening to someone or something else make their own trading decisions. And the traders I know who are still trading are the ones that only listen to one thing, and that's the market. So that's what our goal is as an educator, to teach you how to listen to the market so that you can ultimately make your own trading decisions. And you'll see that attention to detail in today's classroom. Excuse me. Now, before we get into it, we are required by law to share this with you, so please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to share with you a lot of performance results, a lot of current examples in using this particular tool today, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. Also, please remember that all examples are strictly for educational purposes only. Now, I see a lot of new names in today's class, so if you're new to my webinars and you'd like to get some more education on a daily basis, I invite each and every one of you to follow us on Twitter. There's our handle right there. I would suggest copying that down because I post anywhere from daily bits of financial wisdom to actual signals our strategies have generated. Lots of great free information and education on a daily basis. So please, if you're interested in following us, copy down our handle right there and feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now remember, we are a little bit different from other webinars you may have attended. So if you've come here today thinking I'm going to tell you what the market's going to do next week or what a certain stock's going to do or the currency pair or the futures, you've come to the wrong place. Remember, that goes entirely against our philosophy. I would never tell anyone what they should do or what they shouldn't do. That is what causes, in our opinion, most traders to fail. As a mentor, my job is to try and make you a consistent trader. And the only way I can do that is to provide you with the tips and tools and techniques that have stood the test of time so that ultimately you can use them to make your own trading decisions. So as you can see here, our goal is to teach you how to trade with the specialist edge, okay? Now, let's begin, and today I'd like to start off by sharing with you something that my mentors taught me. And this is one of the first things they shared with me, and that was the market. Not some guy in a chat room or a trading room, not some guy on TV, and not someone talking in a blog, but the market is always telling you what it wants to do. Your only job as a trader is not to figure out how high or how low it's going to go, not to figure out what the earnings are, not to figure out some economic report, but your only job is simply to listen to the market and then jump on board in whichever direction it wants to go. That's it. It's really simple. The reason why we fail so much as traders is because we overcomplicate our trading. We're always looking at the earnings. We're always looking at some guy, what he thinks the market's going to do. We're always looking at some overbought, oversold, support resistance technique. It's just overcomplicating things too much. Trading is simple. It's just that the trader makes it more difficult than it has to be. Remember, the market, not some guy in a chat room, not some economic indicator, the market, the chart in front of you, is always telling you what it wants to do. Our only job as a trader is simply to listen, figure out which direction it wants to go, and then jump on board. That's it. It isn't any more complicated than that. So, with that said, I want to talk about a new custom crosshair tool. This is a tool that is designed to listen to the market. Remember, this is a tool. It's not a strategy. It doesn't tell you whether to buy or whether to sell. It doesn't tell you how high or how low something's going. It's just another tool to have in your trading plan to help you ultimately make your own trading decisions. Remember, we said that the only way a trader becomes consistent and is able to trade not for a good month or two, but maybe a good decade or two, is by making your own trading decisions. And the way you do that is by being supplied with enough information and tools that have been consistent that can help you make that decision on your own. Okay, so I know many of you are familiar with crosshair tools that are on a lot of different platforms. These are the standard crosshair. They're basically a vertical and a horizontal line. And usually what most traders do is they will place them over price to help them get an idea of where price is going, over a price bar, okay? Well, we've edited things a little bit, and this is what we've done. We've made our custom crosshair. What we've done is we've kept that same vertical and horizontal line, but now we're also adding a top diagonal line and a bottom diagonal line. This is going to tell us and give us a good clue if a certain strong trend is running out of steam or not, okay? So here are the requirements for this specific technique. You're going to need our buy-sell line. Now, before you go out and say, oh, this is great, I have to go buy some $10,000 tool here. No, the buy-sell line is just your 50-period simple moving average. So everyone has access to it, okay? The buy-sell line is our 50-period moving average. So on our PTS Primo Charting Platform here, as we look at this older chart in Netflix, all you have to do is click on the buy-sell line in the top green strategy tab or indicator tab. In the drop-down menu, click on 50-period moving average. We have 4 different distinct features, ways in which to view it. But click on the simplest, which is the 50-period simple moving average, and there it is, okay? And so this is what we're looking for. And what we want to find is these markets, whether it's currency pairs, Bitcoin, commodities, stocks, futures, makes no difference. But we want to see a strong trend that has just taken place and something that is a far distance away from its moving average, either to the upside or to the downside, okay? Because that's the purpose of this tool. It's telling us whether we're running out of this, momentum to the upside or momentum to the downside. So that's our first requirement. The second requirement, obviously, are the custom crosshair. This is the tool you only find at PTS Primo Charting Platform. I developed this with Pro Trader Strategies to help you make your decision as to whether we're running out of steam or we still have some room left in the trend. Now, usually we're going to use the crosshairs in a specific fashion, but this is the way you would access them on the PTS Primo Charting Platform. You look for the icon in the icon tab here at the very top, and that's our icon for the custom crosshair, and click it on. Now remember, custom crosshairs are different from normal crosshairs. Usually with crosshairs, you would apply them on the price bars. What we want to do is apply it to its relation on the 50-period moving average. So I'm going to share with you exactly what this process is. Remember, everything is easily accessible, and everything you're going to be seeing today is coming from the PTS Primo Charting Platform, the educational platform that actually teaches you how to trade so that you can ultimately make your own trading decisions. Now, let's go through some technique examples, and I'll share with you the process. One thing I just want to say here, now I know I'm a little bit different from other educators. If you have questions, please hold off till the end, and then I promise I'll get to them at the very end of class today, okay? I just don't want to stop at every slide here, because if we do that, we'll be here far too long. I don't want to take all of your Saturday morning up. So if you have any questions, let's hold them off till the end, okay? All right, so let's go through this process, and I'll share with you how to apply this tool. Okay, so let's look at this older chart here in PSA. Right off the bat, I'm going to share with you some older charts just for educational purposes, and then we're going to go to some actual live charts that were updated up to yesterday, okay? Okay, let's say you were lucky enough to get long this stock right here at this level, all right? I don't care what strategy you use. I don't care what technique or method. It makes no difference to me, because we're not talking about our strategies today. We're talking about just momentum and a trend change. So let's say you were lucky enough to buy here. And as you can see, in just a few weeks, you've got a really nice profit here. And you're saying to yourself, well, now where do I get out? Should I get out of everything? Should I hold on? Or what do I do here? You know, I got a really nice trade going on, but I want to know if the trend is going to change. So here's how to apply this specific tool. On our platform, click on the custom crosshair, and here's the actual way and process in which to apply it. Once you make a new closing high, you want to place the custom crosshair directly below that closing high on the 50-period moving average, or the buy-sell line, okay? So here's how we're going to determine if we still have room left in the tank for this to go higher, or whether it's run out of gas. As we noticed here, we have this lower diagonal line. See the lower diagonal green line here? And look at its relation to the 50-period moving average. That's the blue line. If you see that 50-period moving average hugging it or below, this is a sign that you may be running out of steam. Now, what we want to really see is that that 50-period moving average is below that lower diagonal and a well distance below it. This is telling us that most likely the trend has come to an end. Now, as we see right here, we made this new closing high, but look at the 50-period moving average. It's hugging the lower diagonal, but it's not below it. So what is this telling us? Well, it's telling us that we may have some type of a pullback, but in terms of this running out of steam, the overall trend is still up. So look what happened. As you can see, it did go down. And someone would say, well, Steve, this didn't work because it did go down. Well, obviously it did go down, but this was viewed more as a buying opportunity rather than an exiting opportunity. Because as you can see, what happened after that sell-off this week? It went right back up and made new closing highs. So the indicator was just telling us, well, you know, you may have a little sell-off, you may have a little sell phase here, but it's nothing to take too seriously, because there still is some momentum left in this. So if you wanted to pick up more shares, or if you just said, well, you know, I'll sell a little bit, maybe sell half and pick up some more at a lower price, you could have done that. But look what happened a week or two later. We're making new closing highs. So let's say we held on to our position that entire time. All right. Now we go up to the new closing highs. We move our custom crosshair to the new closing high. And now we want to ask ourselves, where is that blue 50-period moving average line in relation to that bottom diagonal? Well, it's still kind of hugging it, telling us that, you know, we may have a little selling pressure here, but it's telling us by no means we have at all run out of gas to the upside. So as you can see, once again, for a week, we kind of just went sideways. You could have picked up some more shares here or held on to your position. And look what happened a week or two later. We're making new closing highs. Now, if you held on to your position, let's move the custom crosshair again up to these new closing highs and see how the relationship is. Well, for the first time, the blue 50-period moving average is below the lower diagonal line, okay? So what is that telling us? This is not a signal to exit. It's not telling you that we're going to crash. It's just telling you, giving you a warning that now we may be running out of steam, out of some momentum. So you may want to take caution. This is a warning signal. This is a red flag. Remember, it does not produce sell signals or buy signals. In this case, it's just giving you a warning that we may be running out of steam. Why? Because that blue 50-period moving average is below that lower diagonal. So here's what a lot of our students like to do. You could do whatever you want. Remember, it's your decision. That's our whole goal as educators, to help you make your own decision. You could sell everything if you wanted at this point and have a really nice profit. You could sell a portion of your position, or you could do what some students do, is track the trade. In other words, going into the next days here, you decide to place a stop just below the following bar. So you're going to let the market take you out and let the market decide for you. So as the stock continues to rally, you'll just rally your stop. In other words, you'll move your stop up just below the low of the previous bar. And as you continue to do that, you'll let the market take you out, so that all of a sudden here, that's where the market exited you. All right, you didn't have to put an exit order in. All you did was move your stop up, and you tracked the trade, and ultimately you got out right here. Remember, you would have purchased it way in advance down here, and you got out at a really nice price. Now here's where students get greedy. They say, well, Steve, I exited and look at it, it continued to go higher. Well, you're right. Let's move our custom crosshair all the way up to that closing high there. And look how far below. It's at this point screaming to be very careful, because it looks like a trend change is about to take place. And look what happened. So in the weeks that followed, the stock gave up almost all of its gains. And looking back in hindsight, wouldn't you have been glad that you exited right here and maybe didn't get out at the top? Remember, this is not a tool designed to tell you where to exit, and doesn't, give you any type of warning that it's going to be at the top or the bottom. It's just giving you a warning that it may be running out of steam. That's its sole purpose. All right, let's look at another example. Here's an older example in BIIB. Once again, let's say you were lucky enough to buy at these lower levels. As the stock makes a new closing high, you move the custom crosshair not to touch the price bar, but to touch the 50-period moving average that is directly below that new closing high. Okay? And then you ask yourself where that moving average is in relation to the lower diagonal bar. As you can see, well, it's kind of touching it, but it's not below. So what is that telling us? That's telling us that if we have a sell-off, that should be viewed upon as a buying opportunity, because we're not really getting any clear-cut signal that we're running out of steam. So look what happened. The stock did sell off. And if you had panicked and exited, you would have been very unhappy, because 2 weeks later, it's making new closing highs. So once again, there was no clear-cut warning here, so any sell-off should have been viewed as a buying opportunity. And that would have been a nice place to pick up some nice cheap shares before it went back up to make a new closing high. So now, let's say you were lucky enough to hold on to your position. Let's say you were even lucky to buy some more shares here. And now the stock has really taken off. All right, so now we move our custom crosshair directly below that new closing high. And as you can see, what do we have? We have the blue 50-period moving average line below the lower diagonal. So what is this telling us? Is this telling us to sell? No, it's telling you that there is a warning that we may be running out of gas. We may be running out of steam in the momentum phase. So what do you want to do? You could either exit everything entirely, you can sell a portion of your position, or you can use that stop technique. Now, let's say you had exited everything altogether. Well, you would have for 2 or 3 days thought, well, gosh, I'm doing really well. But then look what happened here. It made new highs a week or two later. And at this point, you're kicking yourself and you're saying, this stuff doesn't work. Why did I get out? But remember, look at the 50-period moving average now. It's really well pronounced below the diagonal. Now it's screaming that you should get out. And a month later, it was making lower lows, and at this point you would have been happy that you exited. So it's not about getting out at the top or getting in at the bottom. It's about being able to squeeze as much as you can with a really nice tool that will give you a really nice warning. Okay? Obviously, this is if you're long a position. You would just do the opposite and use the upward top diagonal line if you were looking to buy at the bottom of a trend. I'll show you exactly how to apply that, because let's look at some recent examples now. Now that you know the process, now that you know exactly how to apply this on our platform, I'm going to share with you some examples that are current, coming into what happened this Friday. All right. But before we do, once again, remember, take a look at our disclaimer, because everything I'm going to show you, all the performance results are for educational purposes only, okay? We can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. So please, as an educational company, these are strictly to educate you, and they're for educational purposes only. Okay, so let's toggle over onto the PTS Primo Charting Platform. All right, so this is up until Friday. Now let's look at some examples where things may have topped out. And what you want to do usually is have about a good 2 to 3 months data behind you. So in other words, you don't want to just simply look at a chart that has 5 bars. You have to have at least 1 or 2 or 3 possible charts. So we'll go back to January roughly, because that's going to give us enough data to come up with our calculation. Now, as we can see here, the stock was slowly rising, but from February all the way up into the first or second week of March, look at the really nice run we had. Remember, you want to use this when we have our 50-period moving average plotted and stock price is well above. That will give you an idea whether you're topping out or not in terms of momentum. All right, so now we go up to our upper icon tab here. Here's all our different tools and things that we teach you how to apply on the platform. And on the below it, we have all our different strategies and techniques. Let's click on the custom crosshair tool, okay? All you have to do is click it on with our icon, and here it appears. Now, as we were making a closing high here, let's drop it down and see where the blue line was in relation. Well, as you can see, it's hugging it, but that's not giving you any warning that it's running out of steam yet. So if we have a pause or even a sell-off, you may have wanted to look at that as a way to pick up some more shares. And it paused and made new closing high. So as it made this closing high here on the 5th of March, a few weeks ago, let's bring the custom crosshair down. Now, as you can see, get right on there, it is below. Once again, this is not a sell signal, but it's telling you this may be running out of steam. And look what happened this past 3 weeks. The stock basically went from $13 all the way down to 10. It lost about 30% of its value. I know it's not an expensive stock, but let's just say you had purchased the stock at 5 or 6. Would you have liked to say, hey, you know what? I think I'll maybe sell a portion, or maybe I'll get out, or maybe some guy in a chat room was referring to you to buy this stock. If you use the custom crosshair, you would have said, you know what? This stock is kind of running out of steam. I'll wait for it to settle down a bit before I buy it. So this is a great tool to help you make your decision. This was an MRO. Let's look at DISCA. Once again, as it was going steadily higher and higher, let's see its relationship when it made these new closing highs here. And it was hugging that bottom diagonal, but it was not in any way below it. As we made a new closing high here in the first week of March, let's drop the custom crosshair. And it's a little bit below, telling you that, yes, we may be running out of steam. You may want to exit here roughly around the 67.5 level. Or not, just to be careful. But remember, ultimately, it's your own decision. As we made these new highs here last week, let's place this right on top of the 50. And yes, it was well below it. So what was it telling you? It's telling you that this is getting close to running out of steam. You may want to make a decision here. Now, this was at roughly 77. The stock has gone down to 42. All right, don't you think this tool could have helped you with this stock if you were long? Or let's say someone in a chat room said, you've got to get long this stock. It's going to go up to 100, 120. Remember, we don't listen to outside sources. The only thing we listen to is the chart in front of us, because that's where all the answers are. And so we provide you with tools, tips, and strategies to help you listen. We provide you with a little structure to help you make your choice. But ultimately, you've got to make your decision. You'll never come here to a chat room. We don't have chat rooms as specialist trading, or a trading room. We don't believe in those things because many students use them as crutches. They say, well, if the moderator or if Steve is buying or selling this, that means I should do it. Now, that's a recipe for disaster. You should never blindly follow what someone else is doing. You have to make your own trading decision, because everyone comes in with different parameters. Some traders have a lot of risk tolerance. Others don't like risk at all. Some traders have a huge, humongous, source of capital to trade with. Others have a very small account. So everyone comes in with different parameters. You cannot make the same decision. So you have to make your own decision based on what makes you feel comfortable. That's why our only job as an educator is to provide you with things to help you make your own decision, such as this great tool. Let's look at another example here in TPR, okay? We'll click it on. Now this came down and touched it, and then from February into March, it continued to make new highs. In fact, it made a new closing high here. This was on the 15th of March, just a week or so ago. As we would have dropped down our custom crosshair, we see that yes, it was below, not by a lot, but just a little. So it's not flashing this extreme warning that this is going to really sell off, but it's telling you you may want to take profits, or you may, if you're thinking about buying this, maybe hold off a little bit. The stock basically dropped about 6 or 7 points. Perhaps it's time to get in. You know, it's had its little sell-off, and we'll see. Once we make, if it does go up and it makes a new closing high, then you can use this again, okay? But remember, you have to make a new closing high. You just can't use it off of, let's say, this, because it's based off of telling you if something is topping or running out of steam. As we look at the QQQs, we see here that the NASDAQ has had a really strong sell-off as opposed to the S&P or other markets. As we look at this back in middle of February, it was giving us clues right here when it made this new closing high. Look at the 50-period moving average in relation to the lower diagonal. It was well below. So it was screaming to be careful, because even though the rest of the market may not have been showing this, the QQQs, which represents the NASDAQ, it's the ETF, was telling you there's a strong tendency that this may be running out of steam and momentum, and to look for some type of sell-off, okay? Let's look at VIC, okay, Vicom. This is what we looked at in the beginning of the presentation, as we made a new closing high here last week. Do you think this tool could have helped you? As we place it right on the 50-period moving average, look how it was, the price of the 50-period moving average was below that. That was giving you a warning that you may want to protect your trade. If you're long, place a stop just below there. Maybe if you're thinking about getting long, maybe you want to hold off. Or if, you can do whatever you want. But ultimately, this tool could have steered you clear of a real strong, let's say about a 50 or 60 point loss in 3 or 4 days. Now, obviously, there was some news, I believe, that came out that caused this to crash. Isn't it funny how the custom crosshair was signaling this was running out of steam prior to that news? This is another example of why we say don't listen to outside sources. They're usually a day late and $1 short. The market, the very thing in front of you that you're looking at, VIAC, Viacom, was telling you through this simple tool that it was running out of gas well before the news came out. I used to be a trader on the floor of the stock exchange. I was a specialist. That's where we get the name specialist trading. A specialist was someone who made markets. So if you wanted to buy or sell, you had to go up to the trader who specialized in making a market. So I made markets in about 60 stocks, okay? In the beginning of my tenure, when I first started trading, I looked at all the earnings reports, I looked at all the news, I followed all the fundamental information. And 44 years ago, when I first started trading, I couldn't make a dime using that information because it was too subjective. Sometimes the good news would come out and the stock would go straight down. Sometimes bad news would come out and the stock would go straight up. So I have not looked at news in over 4 decades. And if I'm still here, isn't that testimonial telling you that it's really not required? Now, if you want to, you're more than welcome to look at news. I'm not going to tell you what you can't do, but there's no reason to if you're, really learning how to listen to the market. It's a lot simpler to listen to the market than it is to try and figure out fundamental information, which is oftentimes so difficult to discern because, anyone can decide what it wants to do. All right, now this is if you're looking for the market to top out. What about if you're looking for the market to bottom out, all right? Well, let's apply it to Lulu. Remember, what you want to apply this for are stock price that is well above or well below the 50-period moving average. So we're going to use the same process here, but we're just going to reverse it. For example, we started to make these really lower lows well below the 50-period moving average. So when we made this new closing low, if we take the custom crosshair and now we put it up above, what is that telling us? Well, now the blue 50-period moving average is above the top line. So that is telling us that we may be running out of steam to the downside. So you may want to take profits if you're short, say you had the puts, or let's say if you were thinking about buying, if you had a strategy that gave a signal 2 weeks earlier, now maybe is the time rather to buy it than 2 weeks earlier before it had sold off. And as you can see, the stock basically was at 280 and it's gone all the way up to 315 now. You could have, as you see here, it's gone up 30 points, roughly 30 or 20 or 30 points since this signal. Let's look at TTWO, okay, Take Two Interactive. Same thing. All right, now remember, you want to see that it's either well above the 50 or in this case, well below. So at this point, we're well below. We bring our custom crosshair up, and what's it telling us? It's not giving us any information. Remember, in order to see that something has run out of steam to the downside, that blue line has to be well above the top diagonal. And where is it? It's kind of touching it, and then it's below it. So that's not giving us enough information. Let's look at the next day. All right, the next day, kind of doing the same thing. The next day, well, now it's kind of hugging it, and it's, kind of parallel to it. And look at this last day. Now we have the 50 period above it. What is that telling us? It's telling us if you're short, you may want to make a decision to cover. If you're short, you may want to make a decision to cover a portion of your position. If you're short, you may want to move your stop close to lock in some profits. And if you were thinking about going long, well, maybe you might want to start it. But either way, it's your decision. This is not giving you a signal. Now, that low closing day was roughly about 162, and the stock now is up 10 to 15 points higher since then. As we look at AMD, same thing on the strong down closing day here. It's well below the 50 period moving average. As we move it back up here, see how the 50 period is above that top diagonal line? That's telling you that we may be running out of steam and that it's time to either cover your position or go long if you like. Now, as you can see, it bounced up quickly from roughly 73 all the way up to 85, and now it's come back down again. So if we move this down again, we can see at this closing low, look at the 50 period moving average. It's still above. So what is that telling you? This short little sell-off we've had for the last week or two may be running out of steam. So this is one thing you may want to consider. Now, I don't want you to go out and say, well, gosh, Steve said to buy AMD. No, I didn't. This indicator, this tool is saying that the sell-off, the last sell-off for the last week or so on AMD may be running out of steam. It's your decision as to what you want to do. Let's look at XLNX. Once again, when it made this low here on the 8th of March, if we would have moved this custom crosshair, we would have seen that price was just a little bit above but enough to give you a warning. And that was roughly at 112 and immediately went up to 132. So it bounced 20 points in about a week. Now it's come down a bit. As we see this short-term closing low right here, where is the 50 period moving average? Well, it's still above, not a lot, but a little bit. So there may be room to the upside for this as well. EQIX. See how far below this is? This is where this really helps. Now, when we made this low right here at the end of February, if you had raised the custom crosshair, look at the 50 period moving average. It wasn't above that top one. So that wasn't really giving you enough information. So we want to make a lower close, which is right here. We move it up. And now it's hugging it, but still not really well defined that it's well above it. The next day it closed lower, still doing the same thing. We have a lower close right here. And now we start to see that there's some chance that this may be bottoming out. Well, this was at 592. The stock is almost up 100 points, up about 90 points since then. So you see, the first time the 50 period moving average was above that top diagonal, that was your warning signal. Isn't this a fantastic tool to help you make your decision? Remember, it doesn't tell you something's topping out or bottoming out. It only tells you a warning of something to help you make your own decision. And lastly, CL, okay? Here's an interesting chart here. This was in the first week of March when it made that low. Had you placed this right here, you would have seen that the 50 period was above it. So that was giving you some type of warning here, roughly about 74, and the stock is now up about 13 or 14 points. So you see this happening over and over again. Now, I don't have the data for futures, but it can be applied to futures, intraday futures. It can be applied to commodities. This can be applied to Bitcoin. It can be applied to currency pairs. We have a lot of currency pair traders that use this. The main thing is, if you're looking for something that may be running out of momentum to the upside, you want to see price a fair, good distance away from the 50-period moving average. It means meaning on top of the 50-period moving average. If you're looking for something to bottom out, as I just showed you the last couple of charts here, you're looking for something to be a fair distance away to the bottom, below the 50-period moving average. But that's all it takes. It just strictly goes off momentum and what the chart is telling you. That's how simple it is. Okay, as we go back to the presentation, let's recap, okay, before we go into question and answer, and I tell you about a great offer we have for all of you today. As my mentors taught me, and one of the basic things that have sustained my trading for the last 4 decades, once I learned to let go of all these useless traditional ways of trading that really show no levels of consistency and learned how to listen to the market, that's where my trading turned around. That's where I started to become consistent. Remember, the market, not some guy in a trading room, not some guy on TV, not some earnings report, not some economic weekly indicator that comes out, not even some guy in a Saturday webinar. The market is always telling you what it wants to do. The only trouble is we've never been trained and taught to listen to the market. We're always trained and taught to listen and follow some guy in a chat room. But all we have to do as traders is just 2 things. We have to listen to it, find out what it wants to do, and then jump on board. We don't have to predict how high or how low it'll go. We don't have to let it tell us when to exit, all we have to do is jump on board. That's how you become consistent. So let's go over this crosshair today, some important things to know. Remember, this is not a full-fledged strategy. I don't want you to leave here today thinking, well, gosh, this is great, so it's going to tell me where I should sell this or tell me where I should buy this. No, this is just one more tool to put in your trading plan to help you make your decisions. You can apply it to up and downtrending markets. Now, a couple of things here. I would suggest, if you're going to use this, applying this to higher priced markets because they have that higher volatility. And because of that, they can be further away from the 50-period moving average, either to the upside or the downside. You see a lot of inexpensive stocks, like $2 or $3 or $5 stocks, they kind of hug that 50-period moving average, so you won't get a lot of signals. But you look at the volatile stocks, and that's where you get a lot of these. Now remember, one thing to remember, results may take a few attempts. As you saw here, many times I would put it over a crosshair as it made a new closing high, and it wasn't giving you any information. It was just saying, yeah, it's not below or above, so it's not telling you anything. And you may have to look at a number of things, but that's okay. That'll work in your favor. So this is a great tool that you can add into your trading arsenal, okay? So ask yourself, do you think this tool can help your trading throughout 2021? All right, we're already into the first quarter. Has anything helped you this much so far? How about this tool? Could it help you? Could it have helped you this past month? Well, we have a great offer for all of you taking time out of your Saturday morning and coming to hear me speak today. We're going to offer you our Trend Trading Bootcamp. All right, this is a great way to get familiar with what we do and to teach you our concepts and our philosophy. And on top of that, we're also going to throw in one of our most consistent pullback methods, strategy number 1. So you're going to get a full-fledged strategy with all the rules for entry, all the rules for exiting, all the rules for stop placement, along with our bootcamp about trend trading, about trading with the trend, all the different ways to apply our features with the trend. Now, remember, everything we teach you in this course can be applied to any market, any time frame, and any direction. I don't want you to think that this is only for stocks. It makes no difference. I mainly trade intraday E-mini futures because of the time I have to trade. I really don't have a lot. And when I have a spare moment, I like to intraday trade. That's where my background is, and on the floor, trading intraday. And so everything in this course and in this package, I also use in different markets as well. But we're not going to just stop there. We're also going to throw in 10 Saturday bonuses, okay? These are tremendous bonuses, usually worth anywhere from $500 to $1,000, stemming from our entries course, a full course on entries, a full course on exits, a full course on stop placement, a full course on scanning the buy-sell line. That's our 50-period moving average, but on how to use it and how to apply it different ways. And we have a short-term top-bottom 25% pattern scanner for that as well. You also get a scanner to identify strategy setup. So with strategy number 1, you could scan on a nightly basis for signals. All right, so even if you're trading it or not, you can scan and see where these signals are in stocks, futures, currency pairs. You're also going to get the multi-scanner. You can scan from multiple things because we present so many things with you. You can pick and choose what you'd like to scan for. You're also going to get our auto-click smart entries on the platform. Just one click, you'll see exactly where the high probability entries are, okay? Exiting as well. Now, you'll also, if you like to use your platform with a lot of our different studies and strategies, you can apply it. We'll share with you the add-on so you can get the up and down arrows for TradeStation, MetaStock, MT4, Sierra Charts, NinjaTrader, and we also have them now available for with slight editing for Thinkorswim as well. And this all comes with 6 months of our PTS Primo Charting Platform. Now remember, everything you saw today was displayed from using the platform. Everything is one click away. It's pre-formatted. You won't find these things anywhere else. So we're throwing in the 10 strategy bonuses, and on top of that, with this, as we just said, you're going to get 6 months of the PTS Primo Charting Platform, okay? One of the best things about this that we didn't talk about are the auto-generated exit levels, as you see here. So with strategy number 1 or with any of our techniques, they come with one of our methods for exiting. And this is something you can decide as well if you'd like to use this as well. For example, here was a buy signal in, I believe, strategy number 1. As you can see, nothing much was happening. Once you bought the stock, this was OLED, it kind of went sideways to lower. But we furnish you with different exit points. You could decide which level you want to exit at. And as you can see, about a week later, you got up to exit level number 2. And look what happened after that. These are great, great perks to have, and they're automatically generated on the platform. So let's talk about what this discount is and how much you're getting. Remember, you're getting strategy number 1, which can be applied to any market, any time frame. The bootcamp course, all about trading with the trend, along with 6 months of our platform. Now, normally, if you purchased all of these things together, it would cost you over $8,400. That's how much knowledge and information there is here. There's over 40 years of information I've accumulated that you won't find anywhere else. We're going to discount that today for all of you for a very limited time. We're dropping the price down to $297, less than $300. You're going to get over 4 decades of information I've accumulated and that I personally use, things that I really feel can help you become a consistent trader. You're going to save over $8,100. You owe it to yourself to take your trading to the next level. If you've been struggling, if you're frustrated, if you're depressed that you're not getting the results you want, don't worry, I've been there. Remember, my first year or 2 trading, I couldn't make a dime. I was doing all the same things that probably you're doing, but I was doing them 40 years ago, and they weren't working then, so they're not about to start working now. These are the things that help sustain me. So if you're really serious about taking your trading to the next level, if you want to be a consistent trader, if you're frustrated, I know how desperate you can feel. It's very depressing because you put a lot of hard work and you spend a lot of money and you're not seeing the type of results you want, right? I know exactly what that's like. We're not going to charge you an arm and a leg. We're not going to charge you like other sites where you charge you $5,000, $10,000. For $300, less than $300, you're going to get all this. And one thing I didn't mention, you're also going to get my personal email address. You can email me with any questions as your personal mentor. So anything doesn't make sense or you're not sure if you're getting the right signals, if you're spotting them correctly, you can always email me and I'll be able to review your work and answer all your questions. All right, here's the information you need to sign up for this great, great offer. Remember, limited time only. Contact my sister site, Pro Trader Strategies. I developed a platform with them. They're in charge of all the discounts and all the pricing as well as tech support for the platform. I would strongly suggest calling them directly at 310-598-6677. They have trading consultants manning the phones right now. They'd all be more than happy to talk with you about tech support, or if you want to apply this to a different platform, they'd be more than happy to talk that with you, and they're very flexible. And if you want to sign up with that deep discount of less than $300, they can take your order over the phone. So they're there to help you. There's absolutely no obligation. I would recommend giving them a call. Now, that link you see at the very bottom, if you're interested in signing up online, that's the link you would go to. I don't believe it's a live link, but if you look on the chat box, they've just posted a live link in the chat box. So if you go to webinar column on the far right, underneath the chat box category, you'll see a link that's been posted there. You can click that on, and it will automatically open up a browser for you. Now, I just want to take this time to answer any questions. I said if you have any questions, to ask them now, just go to your question and answer box, type them in, and I will be there to answer them right away. Okay, so let's see. Okay, I have a question. Does this work on Thinkorswim? Yes, I said it works on Thinkorswim, but you have to there's a few alterations you have to make. And the good news is that our tech support does all of it for you, okay? There's, because of the way Thinkorswim is structured and formatted, you know, there's a few things that need to be changed, first of all, in order for you to see the signals and to get the scanning and all that capability. And our tech support will do that for you. So it's all done very simply and easily. Usually, probably less than I'd say probably less than an hour. It's all done for you. Someone is asking, can you go into detail what you mean by educational correspondence? Well, yes. Once again, so many students I've found out over the years, and myself included, when I was first learning, you know, you have questions, right? And you start to say, well, you know, I don't understand. You know, I took the seminar, I bought this book, and it doesn't seem to get the same results, or it's not, I'm not thinking that I get it right. Well, in the old days, there was nothing you could do about it, right? You just had to kind of sit and hope you figured it out. But now you have my personal email address. You can email me whenever you like. I was answering emails this morning prior to the presentation. I like to answer them in the morning. That's when I usually do it. And get back into students so that they don't feel as if they're kind of in the dark. So if you have a question, it doesn't matter what it's about. It could be concerning anything in the course, or it could be something on the platform. Just contact me via email. You're my student now, and I would be more than happy to answer them, okay? Good questions. How long does the offer last? Well, you know, Pro Trader Strategies is in charge of all the offers. When they say limited time, it's usually for 2 to 3 days. You know, they may extend it a little bit longer, but usually not that longer. And you're all going to get a link to this webinar today. So you'll be able to watch this at your leisure over the weekend and say, you know, whether it's something you want or not. But if you decide to hold on to it, let's say for a couple of weeks, and then you watch it again and say, you know what, I think I'll take that offer may be back up to $81, $8,200. So if you're really serious, watch the video and make a decision in the next couple of days, because then you'll be locked in for that really inexpensive price of $297. Okay? Okay, if there are no further questions, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday morning. I hope you learned a little about most especially our concepts and our philosophy, and how we really want to educate you, how we really want you to make your own decisions so that you can be a consistent trader. It's not about having you come here and spend $10,000, $20,000 the way some other webinars do. You can see our attention to detail and our devotion, and really wanted to educate you by introducing you to all this information for such a low price. So we really are sincere in wanting to educate you. I hope you come on board, take advantage of this, and most especially, I look forward to all of you becoming students of mine in the bootcamp course. Thank you so much for attending today. I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.